It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage.
For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory.
A blustery November afternoon in Chicago. Time to bundle up and march down to Soldier Field to see if the Chicago Bears once again can hold off impending disaster. Bear fans know how to survive. Their team has been a model of inconsistency since week 2. Yet still the Bears entertain playoff hopes, with a winning formula serving as a constant reminder of their preseason promise. Today, what it will take is a big performance from this man, NFL rushing leader Walter Payton. Without Payton's 1,129 yards, the Bears and head coach Jack Pardee likely would find themselves among the also-rans. But Payton's magic has shepherded Chicago through tough times, and today could make the difference in a showdown battle. For today, the Bears play host to the Minnesota Vikings, a team with rookie Tommy Kramer and little-used Bob Lee as the only healthy quarterbacks. Fran Tarkenton's injury has forced Bud Grant to go to the bench to protect his 2-game lead in the NFC Central Division. It's not a prospect Grant cares to smile about. This is a must game for Chicago. The Bears have already lost to Minnesota, and a second loss would wipe out their playoff hopes. But against a wounded Viking team that has been most ineffective stopping the run, you got to like Chicago's chances in the NFL Game of the Week. For the Viking defense, the task at hand was clearly defined. The threat to the Vikings' hold on first place wore number 34. The Vikings' job was to stop him. But on the first play from scrimmage, Walter Payton foreshadowed things to come. On the replay, watch Payton slide outside the block of number 65, Noah Jackson, for 29 yards and a first down in Viking territory. Payton and Jackson would work in tandem much of the afternoon, Jackson pulling to eliminate obstacles, Payton reaping the rewards. On Chicago's first possession, Payton's rewards were 47 yards rushing and the game's first scoring opportunity, as Payton's ground burst set up Bob Thomas for an apparent field goal. But the Bears didn't want 3, they wanted 6. The Vikings made them settle for none. Minnesota took over, anxious to establish its ground attack against Chicago's mediocre rushing defense. But funny things happen when a long-established quarterback is replaced late in the season. The count is slightly different, the pacing slightly off. Bob Lee's first play never got off the blackboard. A procedure call started the Vikings off on the wrong foot. Not yet ready to risk anything over the middle, Lee tried to move the first down sticks with a swing pass to Chuck Foreman. But the Bears took away the sideline. Thus, the Vikings failed to impress on their first offensive series. Fortunately, their punter, Neil Clabo, hit a good one that skimmed the wet playing surface and rolled dead deep in Chicago territory. Jack Pardee's next instructions to quarterback Bob Avellini most likely can be paraphrased in this fashion. The man is hot, so give him the ball. But a one-man offense eventually attracts due attention. On Chicago's next two possessions, the Vikings zeroed in on Walter Payton, putting a damper on this tropical storm before it could grow into a hurricane. With Payton momentarily neutralized, the Bears didn't cross midfield the remainder of the first period. Once again, the burden fell upon Chicago's lackluster defense. But with Fran Tarkenton inactive, the Bear defense could give its undivided attention to Minnesota's other formidable offensive threat. Chuck Foreman would accomplish nothing against the defense stacked to make his life miserable. Now Bob Lee had no choice but to open up downrange. The results were nearly disastrous. The first quarter closed without further incident, but this scoreless battle was about to see its first pivotal play. On the opening play of period 2, Bob Parsons lofted a punt toward Viking return man Bob Grimm. But Bear kick coverage arrived just moments after Grimm juggled the ball, resulting in a Bear recovery and a 1st and goal at the Viking 6. Something to be excited about. Number 85, Steve Schubert, surely must have felt that his special teams hustle would result in the game's first score. But through the years, the Vikings have acquired a reputation as one of football's all-time great goal line teams. 3 times Walter Payton tested their mettle, and 3 times the Vikings turned him away. A field goal would have given Chicago that all-important first score, but once again the Bears wanted 6 instead of 3. And once again, the Viking defense gave them nothing. A tough break for Bob Avellini and the Bears offense. This time, however, Walter Payton kept the Bears alive. Following a Viking punt, Avellini handed to Payton 4 straight times, and Payton carried to the Viking 1. From the 1, number 69, Reevy Sorey escorted Payton around the Viking left side as Payton pitter-pattered in for the game's first score. Payton's touchdown pushed him over the 90-yard mark and gave the Bears a 7-0 lead. The stocky little halfback had overcome his late first-period doldrums and now appeared on the verge of his best afternoon as a pro. And all those enduring Bear fans were loving it. But for partisan Bear fans, the fun was just beginning. Sure first downs were forfeited in a rare Viking fit of poor execution and procedure penalties. Frustrated, Lee abandoned the piecemeal approach and tried to tie the score with one big play. Here again, the Vikings were frustrated, this time by number 24, Virgil Livers, who gave the Bears and Walter Payton one more possession before halftime. Needless to say, the Vikings knew what to expect, but they still couldn't stop him. First, a 23-yarder put the ball in Viking territory. Then an 11-yarder carried into field goal range. Following a holding penalty, Walter Payton's final yardage of the half, a 14-yard draw play, put the ball on the 18. Several plays later, with 47 seconds remaining, Bob Thomas lifted the Bears' lead to 10. And so on a chilly November afternoon, Chicagoans cheered their team's 10-0 halftime advantage over division-leading Minnesota. For Walter Payton, 26 carries, 144 yards, and a touchdown. And the best was yet to come. The Bears defense had not only shut out the Vikings in the first half, but had limited them to merely 52 total yards. Pretty good for a defense that ranked 13th in their division. Offensively, there was a small matter of the 204 gained on the ground, 144 of them by wonderful Walter Payton. But on their first possession of the second half, the Bears could not move the ball, thanks in part to pressure by the Viking front four on Bob Avellini. Here, 4 minutes into the third quarter, a key play occurred. One willing and eager participant was number 59, Viking outside linebacker Matt Blair, while definitely an unwilling one was Chicago punter Bob Parsons. Blair came crashing through to block Parsons' punt and run it down on the 10. From there, it was an easy score, the Vikings' first of the game, and against the Bears' lowly defense, there was absolutely no reason to think it would be their last. Blair's exuberance and joy was understandable, for the 4-year man from Iowa State had put his team back in a game it had to win. For the Vikings were well aware what a victory would do for the Bears today. Also, with Tarkenton out, it was obvious that points were not going to come in bunches today. The Bears have won a number of close games this year. The latest came 2 weeks ago when they defeated Kansas City by 1 point on a Bob Avellini pass with 3 seconds left. Now, with the score 10-7 in their favor, they were involved in still another tight game that would go right down to the wire. On Chicago's possession after the Vikings touchdown, Walter Payton, running behind the blocking of number 69, Reeve Sori, increased his yardage total another 19 yards, but the Bears couldn't capitalize on it and had to punt. On the next 2 series, defenses ruled the game, and though both teams tried similar flanker screens, the results were the same, scant yardage of any consequence. Both times, the defense reacted quickly and came up fast to stop the play. However, late in the third period, the Vikings got something going. Brent McClanahan began it with a power burst straight up the middle. Then with the ball at the Chicago 31, Bob Lee connected on his longest pass of the day to tight end Bob Tucker, clear and free for 29 yards, all the way to the Chicago 2-yard line. Now with an excellent chance to get in the end zone, General Lee came a cropper with a botched handoff that must have had Minnesota followers yearning for Fran Tarkenton. But if that wasn't bad enough, on the very next play with the ball now spotted at the 3, the Vikings decided to go to the air. This was undoubtedly the key play of the entire ballgame. Lee's jump pass, a play called by Bud Grant from the sidelines, resulted in an interception by second-year linebacker Tom Hicks, and the Vikings' threat was over. The Bears' defense had saved the day. Another look, this time from the end zone, shows the intended receiver, number 83, Stu Voigt, empty-handed as Hicks brought the ball out to the Minnesota 9-yard line. It didn't stay on the 9 very long. Walter Payton had swept 22 yards to take the Bears out of danger. But several plays later, this time on 4th and 1, Avellini was left naked, looking for someone to hand off to. Thus ended a nice 9-play drive that had taken Chicago from its own 9 all the way to the Minnesota 28. This busted play could in no way be credited to the Viking defense, but the next time they were on the field, number 43 veteran cornerback Nate Wright pulled off a fine defensive play that resulted in a turnover. Watch Bob Avellini's eyes as he rolls right. Despite a short look-off and fake, he must have liked what he saw near the sideline. But Wright, covering James Scott like a glove, picked off the ball. In the end, this meant little, though, for the Viking offense still couldn't get on track, and the Bears took over. Once again, they started a long, sustained drive on the ground, punctuated by one brilliant gem by Walter Payton. 58 yards later, the Bears had the ball on the Minnesota 9, where the Vikings got tough for 4 consecutive plays. On 4th and goal from the 6, the give, unsurprisingly, was to Payton, who cut back against the defensive pursuit, but was brought down short of the end zone. The Bears had to give up the football, but Walter Payton had gained his 275th yard and set a new NFL single-game rushing record. This historic occasion was appreciated by both his fans and teammates alike. But there was still a ball game, and an important ball game at that, to be won or lost. The Vikings had the ball, and with 2 minutes remaining in the game, began their final drive for a touchdown. After an 11-yard gain by Chuck Foreman, Lee completed a pass to Brent McClanahan for another gain of 11, for a second straight first down. But with the ball on their own 29 and just over a minute left to play, Lee found himself in a 3rd and 14 situation. After avoiding the rush, he hit Sammy White with a perfect pass. The play covered 13 yards, 1 yard short of the first down. Seldom has a passing partnership paid so dearly for success, for White limped off injured on the play, while downfield Lee himself was sinking to the turf in pain. Lee, after avoiding Ron Rydelch, got off his pass to White, only to be brought down immediately by number 75, Jeff Seavey. Seavey's tackle caused Lee to twist his knee badly enough that he had to be removed from the game. Lee, who should be well enough to play the Vikings' next game, was replaced by the Vikings' number 1 draft choice, Tommy Kramer, and it was on this rookie's shoulders that rested the outcome of the game. Kramer dropped back and tried to go to Sammy White, who had remained in the game. But number 48, cornerback Allen Ellis, hauled in the errant throw, and the Vikings' final threat was ended. All that remained now was for the Chicago offense to take the field and calmly wait for the remaining seconds to tick down. All Minnesota could do was to watch helplessly as their lead in the NFC Central Division was reduced to a single game. In the locker room, Viking coach Bud Grant said, "The Bears played exceptionally well today. They beat us, we didn't lose." As for Walter Payton, he was outstanding. He had a great day. It's his field, and it's where he does his thing best. Walter Payton had indeed done his thing, shattering O.J. Simpson's single-game National Football League rushing record with a whopping 275 yards on 40 carries. He gained 144 yards in the first half and added 131 in the second, including his 58-yarder. The Bears had won a game they knew they had to win and were now thrust right back in their division race along with Detroit. Both teams are tied for second place with records of 5-5. Payton, in erasing O.J.'s record, also wiped out the Bear record of 205 yards set by Gale Sayers and equaled by Payton against the Packers earlier this season. The holes were there, and I just ran through them, he said after the game. I had no idea I was anywhere near the record, and I don't like my teammates coming up and telling me what I've done. It breaks my concentration. In this, his greatest season, the third-year man from Jackson State has gone over the century mark in rushing 7 times, while he has twice topped 200 yards. Payton now has 1,404 yards rushing and needs an even 600 more to beat O.J.'s record for most yards in one season, set in 1973. But more important than individual statistics, suddenly the Chicago Bears have come from nowhere to become a viable factor in this NFL season. The reason, quite simply, has been Walter Payton. And as he left the field last Sunday in Chicago, Payton was given a hero's ovation by football fans in attendance at Soldier Field, as well as those who were notified of his stunning achievement by electronic means, while attending other games or watching on television across the country. All of them, as they've done through the years to such as Red Grange, Gale Sayers, Jim Brown, and O.J. Simpson, were united in a common salute to one man's excellence.